Hi guys, and welcome to your first review episode of the episode 1 of Noblesse. Our first episode titled We Must Be Protected / Ordinary. And yes, it's following that kind of slash title which God of High School did. It is a manhwa, so we'll bear that in mind. Also, before we go into the first episode, I feel it's right to talk about the prequel. If you are not aware, Noblesse has a prequel, and the prequel is Noblesse Awakening. It's a lot of the backstory that you kind of need. I'd say if you haven't watched it yet, definitely make sure that you check it out at some point. I think things will make a little bit more sense if you watch the prequel first. So the prequel takes place 820 years later. Earlier, because we're now in the future, which is confusing. I just want to draw attention to it. Make sure you check out the prequel because it's a lot of backstory to the characters. Definitely check it out. I really liked it. I gave it apparently I was quite harsh. I gave it a 6. I don't remember it being as bad as that. Also, before we rock and roll, I decided that I kind of wanted to make a little quick point out just because it's relevant to this channel. If you remember me, I did a review on Koi to Producer last season. Frankenstein, our boy with blonde hair, if you hadn't worked out his name, his voice actor is none other than Lucien. Lucien is in this anime. It's great. I get to talk about him. Right, now that boring stuff is out of the way, let's go into the anime itself. So the first episode, we get 2 essential storylines going on. So we open with a soldier in the forest, and it's quite a nice cold open. So we don't know where we are. We're in the middle of a forest. This soldier is trying to contact his base. He reports that there's been an enemy attack, that 323 of them are dead, and he is the only survivor. But what I immediately we're going hardcore with the symbology this season. Also, this is a perfect spoopy season to get an anime about kind of immortals, and we've got people like Frankenstein involved. So it's very nice that this is definitely the correct anime to pick for the season of spoopiness. We see a butterfly caught in a web, and this sets up the foreshadowing for this guy's death. A butterfly in a web, it's caught, it's trapped, death is imminent. Usually if a butterfly is in a web, a spider will follow. And that's exactly what we see. We see a black widow coming out of stage right, and the spider kills the butterfly. And what happens? We get an explosion. So the screen is shocked by an explosion. The soldier suddenly can't reach his base, and he dies in a surprise attack. That's the little sequence that led up to it, kind of knowing that this guy was in danger. He was ensnared in the trap. And to be fair, the character who kills him is wearing a lot of black. It fits nicely. We find out that the base that he was trying to reach is on fire, and we see these scientists kind of being shuffled away by the army, and they're under attack. We've got a guy who's called Shark. So he's the guy we see wielding a knife, and he shows off his kind of skills, and he splits up a rock. So we know that we're dealing with people who have got quite a high level of power here. There's a lot going on. We're going to make a little pit stop here and there just to point out a few things. I haven't read the manhwa. I've seen Noblesse Awakening, so I know the prequel. I'm in it with you guys. I don't know what's going on. So we're going to go by scene by scene. We get a cool little sequence now of a guy being a hacker. There's always a hacker involved. I've noticed quite a bit. We've got a hacker in another video I'm watching. Westgate. Ikeburo Westgate Park. We have a hacker in there as well. I like hackers. I like the inclusion of hackers. Hackers are cool. They're a little bit open. And he is able to locate the scientist. So it seems that the team who are attacking the base, which is the guys we're following, this is the Union, they are after the scientists. The hacker tells Takeo, the guy who looks like Gakpo from Vocaloid, he really looks like him. He's got a nice big purple ponytail, and he's got a huge gun. I love his gun. He's been sent the location, and he blows up the helicopter. We can see him also demonstrating some superhuman powers, and he dodges multiple shots of a gun, and he manages to secure the scientist. He also has super speed and agility, which is really cool. And their captain arrives in a blaze of glory as we've got the fire behind him. And he says that, we're going to wrap up here. We need to go to our next mission. And the next mission is in Japan. And we get a screenshot of Raziel, our boy. If we look at his design, there's not a lot going on with his design. He's got dark hair, he's got red eyes, which is telling in this sense, and he's got a cross earring. He is the immortal, and he is the guy we're following. He is our main. We get our intro song. I am not taken with the intro song, and the intro is, there's not a lot going on. We kind of get these snippets of characters. We get a few snippets of them, quick character cuts. We see the ring, which is Raziel's ring, up close, because that's quite an important feature for later on. There's not a lot going on. I'm not overly fussed. A little kind of nod that the people producing this anime are Production IG. They are the same people who are doing Moriarty this season, which is important. If you are wanting to see my Moriarty content, we are doing Moriarty videos every Tuesday. So tune in every Tuesday for the Moriarty videos, and we're doing the breakdowns there. And I'm excited with that one. So at the moment, I think I'm more excited with Moriarty than Noblesse, but it can change. I'm aware this is a bit of a slow builder. There's a lot going on, and it's all being set up. We now cut to our modern day setting, which is the school. So it does take place in the school. We meet our two main characters for school setting anyway. We've got the redhead guy, call him Yu-chan. We're going to call him Yu. He's got a broken arm. He's been in an accident, which we'll discover a little bit more quickly later on. And we get Glasses Kun, who is Manabu, our nerd, our IT nerd. Most of the time, Glasses characters tend to be that kind of calculating, smart kind of character, which is the same with this guy here. We see him being a bit of an IT nerd a bit later on. These guys arrive at school where they see everybody surrounding a security guard who they've never seen before. All the girls are swooning. I'm not a big fan of his look, but I get it. We're going to be calling him Silver, just because he has got a name. It's M21. His name is M21. We haven't heard it mentioned yet, but we already know he's a test subject. That's the name. He doesn't actually have a name. We're going to call him Silver. I think it fits him, so let's call him Silver. The girls are all swooning around him, and the guys arrive. Above the sequence, we see Raziel with Frankenstein, and he says that the memory erase was a success. What we find out is that Yu was in he thinks he was in an accident with a car, and that's how his arm is broken. And the anime does the typical thing of giving us a yellow filter, which means this happened in the past. Normally, if a scene is surrounded by yellow, or they choose to show it as in yellow light, it happened a while ago. And we get a meeting where we see Silver meeting Frankenstein and Raz. Silver is revealed to not be a normal human. He is a test subject, and he says that he belonged to the Union. The Union was doing a lot of work with science. They're groundbreaking science, and he shows off some of his claws. He does a bit of a Wolverine on us. And we find out he was an experimental subject, but he wasn't a success. So the Union had two successors, and they were called Jake and Maria. These names come back up at the end, which is probably why we're getting a little kind of name drop there. Otherwise, I don't think they would have given a name drop. We find out that Silver is the only one. He's the only one left alive. Frankenstein has invited Silver to live with them. Turns out that Frankenstein protected some students, which is probably you, I think. Because it does seem that there's something going on there, but we don't quite get the full details this episode. He says, you're free to go, you don't have to, I have no intention of trapping you. And he says, obviously you can't stay for free, I want you to work as a security guard, because he was apparently going to hire anyway. To be fair, it's quite a good job for him, he does look quite nice in the role. Frankenstein is the director of the school, and we find out as well that he also founded the school. And a lot of this episode really is just setting up the school setting, what we're getting in. We get a lot of following the ordinary school life. We see Yu arrive in class with his arm cast, and he gets attacked by his student body to draw on his casts. Raziel appears in the hallway, getting mobbed by the female students because he's a heartthrob. We find out that the nickname for Raz is Ray, so that everyone in class calls him Ray. I did note that there's no penis on the cast. If it was Europe, somebody would have drawn a penis on that cast. Somebody would have done it. Raz looks at the cast, and it all goes kind of quiet. And then he takes out his pen in a very dramatic way, and he draws a cat upon the cast, which is quite a nice little cute touch. Class begins, and we see that Yu pulling out his phone. I think there was a bit of discussion of how he's going to write notes, and he decides to use his phone in class. I've got a few teachers I know in the past who would probably kick you out for that. A lot of this really is just set up to be the school day. We kind of follow them through. We get lunch period where we see Raziel eating ramen, but he kind of just stares at it. And he pulls out a napkin in a very dramatic fashion, but he says he's not going to eat it because he's waiting for it to multiply. I'm not quite sure I know what that means. I'm sure that's going to be touched upon at some point. After school again, just we see Manabu and Yu. They talk about a new game. They invite Ray over, but because Ray's staying with the director, he can't go. And plus, it's kind of hinted that he's lacking something, which turns out to be a phone. We get a little meeting on top where Frankenstein asks Silver how his first day was. Nothing out of the ordinary. It's quite basic. All this is just set up essentially. We get a little bit of information as Ray joins the conversation. Ray says that the world has truly changed. I mean, you've been asleep for a very long time, Ray. He says that humans are remarkable and apparently I'm lacking something. So the kids told me I'm lacking something, and if I had this something, I would be able to accomplish so many things. It turns out he's talking about a cell phone, which, to be fair, if you were thrown into the modern day right now without a cell phone, you probably would be at a bit of a disadvantage if you didn't really understand a lot. So it really is amazing how important these phones really are to us and how much we rely on them in real life. Frankenstein automatically recognises that what he's referring to is a phone. He says, sorry, I will arrange for you to have one. I'm so sorry. That's kind of when we get our halfway point. Nothing out of the ordinary going on quite yet. A few little hints that things aren't quite what they seem. Get another day where we see Yu calling Silver old, which is a little kind of cute touch. Ray finally has his phone, but he doesn't know how to use it, so we get a nerd Manabu moment where he comes into the rescue to save him and give him a crash course on how to use the phone. And a little cute thing here, when we're in the director's office, we see Frankenstein looking at a doctored report. The doctored report says that the suspect had explosions and he committed suicide, which is possibly linked to the Union. This is our underlying plot, the plot which is going to be snaking through the entire season. But we're not drawing too much into it just yet because it's a slow burn at the moment. Frankenstein's background is Ray. It's quite cute. I like that. Frankenstein serves Ray, if that wasn't quite clear with the whole master thing. The first episode, there wasn't a lot going on, but there's a lot of blanks. The first text that Ray sends has a little emoji in the corner as well, which is quite cute. So Silver's looking out and he sees a flashback where he's just chilling out with the other subjects. It then flicks back again, where he meets the groundskeeper. We meet the guy now because he's gonna play a bit of a role later on to getting Silver to take action. He talks highly of Frankenstein and just kind of gives us a bit of a lowdown. And again, we get some more daily life scenes. We're just setting up atmosphere. We're setting up the setting. There's not too much to discuss as we run through it quickly. Then disturbed by the arrival of a badly driven red car, which goes onto the school grounds. And we get some thugs opening and they start to pick on the students. And they are looking for you. And we can see in the car that there is a girl doing her makeup who turns out to be the thug's girlfriend. Silver is trying to stay hidden, so he calls for backup. Whilst he's waiting for backup, things kind of go bad to worse as the groundskeeper gets involved. He tries to tell him, you should be parked somewhere else, please move. This really just makes things worse. The thug breaks the guy's broom and he goes in to punch the guy, and we see Yu come out of nowhere to block it with his broken arm. So many respects to Yu for that, because that must be painful. Even if he's wearing a cast, I know eventually the cast gets broken. That is gotta, if his arm's broken, that's gonna really be painful of him blocking it, using it as a shield. It turns out the reason why the thugs are here, because the thug saw Yu making a move on his girlfriend. But what actually happened was she takes a step, her heel breaks, and Yu catches her as she goes kind of to hit the floor. And we kind of get this moment where she's kind of staring longingly at Yu. So whether she likes him or not, I don't know, because she then goes straight to ignoring the guy as well. And she just kind of ignores Yu and doesn't stop her boyfriend or anything. I don't like her. I don't like her. Yu calls the thugs old as well. The thugs start to beat up Yu. And he gets wrecked. He really gets wrecked. Silver sees Raz appear from behind him and there's kind of this awkward stare down. Raz is just staring at him And Silver's in the head kind of going, I need to stay low. I can't make a move because if I don't want to draw attention to myself, I'm trying to lay low. You goes in to punch the Thug, which makes things a hell of a lot worse. He goes in to break his cast. He knocks you into mana boost, so he kind of kills two birds with one stone. And the groundskeeper comes back, which is then where Silver finally interrupts the fight. We can see some of those powers being displayed. He dodges a punch and he grabs the Thug by his chain and he pulls the guy down. It's like gravity is not on this guy's side. And he tosses him into a car. This guy's got superhuman strength. It's pretty impressive. Don't want to get into a fight with this guy at all. And he even says, if nobody was watching, you would be dead. Do not mess with the guy. And that ends that little encounter there. But we see as well that Silver is now even more popular with the student body. This ends with Raz finally eating his ramen. And I'm quite dandy noodles. We know how much I appreciate noodles and ramen and just food of all general. I appreciate you finally eating it. I really hope it hasn't got too cold though. Nothing worse than eating cold ramen. We get a bit more information on Silver. He was essentially born in a test tube. He was nothing more than a test subject, never even got a name. These guys were abused pretty much because they're trying to make these perfect subjects, which is Jake and Maria. This leads to another flashback scene, which is yellow filter again. Whenever there's a yellow filter, especially in a lot of these animes, it tends to be something has happened in the past. This other subject is M24. They may not be ordinary themselves the way they're created, but they just want to try and live ordinary lives, which is a roll credits moment because that is the / ordinary. They promise to go and search for their names and their dead comrades' names. And then that cuts back to Frankenstein. Frankenstein approaches him to talk to him about the event with the guy at school. And he just says, just make sure you don't kill anybody. And that's when remembers his promise and says, let me live here. I've got a promise that I need to fulfill. Frankenstein's dead from the start. You're welcome to do that. That's absolutely fine. We cut with the Union finally arriving in Japan, the guys we saw from before. We get a bit of a lowdown. So Jake and Maria, the name we heard from before, were tasked with retrieving a coffin. These guys have gone missing. This cuts to our ending. The death sequence, there's not a lot to say. I think the ED sounds better than the OP, but there's not a lot to say. It's just an intro. We just see a desk. We see it break to some roses. It goes to some breakfast. We see some science on the desk. And it just kind of cuts with the shadows of Frankenstein and Raz. The end sequence is just a flash on two white-haired characters. That's it. Not a lot to say. Not a lot given. The anime isn't giving away too much just yet. So that is our first episode. I don't have too much to say. Now let's talk about some designs. Screw it. We're going to talk about a few of the quick designs. We'll do a quick design lowdown on Raz, who has got the red eyes. Red eyes generally meaning passion. A very passionate, fiery colour. Also a little bit dangerous. I think in the sense of Raz, definitely more of a danger aspect. He has got a lot of hidden stuff going on, and we don't know too much about the character yet. He's tall, he's dark, he doesn't really say a lot. At the moment, he seems to be more of a very stoic character, but he does have quite a few cute moments where, because he doesn't understand the world he's living in, he's cute because he doesn't understand how to use a phone, and he draws the cute little face on the cast. Through his non-understanding of not understanding the world, he comes across as quite a soft character. That's where we see a soft break in the character. Frankenstein's design is quite cool. He's got some nice yellow hair going on, blue eyes. Blue eyes is generally more of a calm character, which you definitely get with Frankenstein. He seems quite level-headed. He's definitely very obedient. He's very loyal as well. He's loyal to Raziel. His character design, quite nice. Not a lot going on. Raz is wearing the uniform. There's not a lot to discuss there. He's just wearing uniform. I want to talk about Yu very quickly as well. Yu has red hair, and red-haired characters tend to be that fiery, passionate character, normally getting into trouble. That definitely 100% Yu already. Yes, I love it. Again, not much to say about design. He's wearing the uniform. Can't say anything more than that. I think it's been a steady first episode. Nothing groundbreaking just yet. It's going to be a slow burner, I think. I don't think it's going to be one of those animes which start off with a boom. it's a slow burner. We're setting up our dark underlying plot with the Union. We're setting up our plot with our main characters at the school setting. That essentially is it for now. I definitely recommend you guys check out Noblesse the Awakening because it will give you a bit more. I also think Noblesse the Awakening is better. I think it's more engaging. There's a lot of fight scenes. It's quite cool. It's a lot more action-packed than what... Again, we're only one episode in. I can't be too harsh just yet because it's probably it's gonna build. I think this is going to be the slow burner of the season. So that is the end of my review. So let's recap on what's going on the channel. Monday, you guys can tune in. We're getting our Golden Kamui Season 3 updates. Tuesday, we are talking about Moriarty the Patriot. Technically, Wednesday morning, depending on where you are in the world, Wednesday morning will be technically Moriarty. Thursday release, depending on where you are in the world, is going to be this. And Ikeburo Westgate Park will follow later in the day. So I've already recorded, I need to edit that as well. These 2 videos will go up on the same day. One will go up in the morning, one will go up at night. Simple as that. So we've got 4 videos going on the channel this season. I am just going to quickly mention how impressed I am with the journey of Elena, and I wish I had time to do a 5th release because I think I would pick that one up but I recommend you guys check it out. It's really nice, and the first episode impressed me a hell of a lot. Do recommend that one. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and get more content. We are building slowly. We're at 112. We're going to I aim to have a little channel where we have enough people to do live streams where we can talk about an anime. We get to talk to each other about anime. That is the aim of the channel. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you're having a good week. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.